Hey guys, I'm Dr. Tobisch with Whitefish Chiropractic. In this quick video, we're going to be talking about a different form of sciatica, which is going to be extension-intolerant sciatica, which is basically the exact opposite of the last video that we did. So in these situations, these people typically have their symptoms triggered by lumbar extension type movements. So when they're upstanding, walking, maybe working overhead or reaching overhead, movements like that are going to trigger their sciatic symptoms. They typically feel better with low back flexion or rounding, so things like sitting or being stooped forward typically relieve their symptoms. So in these situations, a couple things can be going on. In our not so young patients, sometimes we may have some degenerative changes, something known as stenosis, where in these situations, we started to have some maybe bony growth or bony changes in the hole that the nerve root comes out of, and now that's resulted in a smaller hole, so more likely to kind of close down on the nerve and recreate or produce our symptoms when we're going into extension, kind of closing down on the nerve root more. Other situations could be actually a pinched nerve, where maybe one time or multiple times we did have a situation or event where we clamped down on that nerve root, kind of squeezed it, and now we actually do have a pinched nerve. So again, when we go into extension and close down on the nerve again, that'll reproduce the sciatic symptoms in the back of the leg. Again, anytime people have symptoms in the back of their leg, sciatic type symptoms, they typically think that they need to stretch their hamstrings. And in this case, you're actually not wrong for doing that. Kind of inadvertently going into low back flexion to stretch the hamstrings will typically do what we want to do, which is kind of open up that hole that the nerve root comes out of. But there are a couple more specific things that we can do to resolve our problem more efficiently. So next we're going to look at that. For extension-intolerant sciatica, we want to look at lumbar flexion maneuvers, things to open up the hole around the nerve root. So the first thing we can do is just sustained flexion. We'll have you go on your back, and you can either hold on to your legs or you could get them propped up on something like a couch, but you basically want to be in a position like this where your knees are kind of up close to your chest. So initially you could just hang out in this position, breathe into your belly for 2 or 3 minutes. Next, we want to start adding some movement. So basically the same thing, you're just going to pull a little bit. So you're going to basically pull your knees up towards your chest, come back down. Pull your knees up towards your chest, come back down. And if these movements are kind of relieving for your symptoms, you can do them every couple hours. I'd shoot for a set of 10 to 15 reps every 2 to 3 hours. Next, we're going to look at some sciatic nerve flossing, and we're going to do this from a slightly flexed position, so you could be seated and kind of use your hands to support yourself. And you could slightly round your low back forward, and we're going to kick your affected leg out in front, and we're going to look up at the ceiling. Foot comes down, head comes down. Kick up till you feel some tension, look up at the ceiling, foot comes down, head comes down. For that one, I'd shoot for a set of 10 to 12 reps. You could do that twice daily.